Hey, I have something really exciting to talk about regarding no-code and low-code development as a way of developing an app to manage health and nutrition. Agmine is a company that provides data-driven solutions for food producers, and we wanted to develop an app for human health and nutrition management that includes ways of taking into account a person's nutritional requirements, ways of looking at their preferences. For example, a person may have allergies and aversions to certain foods. People may have an interest in purchasing foods from certain companies. They may be members of a loyalty program. And even though there are many different apps out there that are doing this, we wanted to do this in the no-code, low-code manner. So we engaged Intact partners through Digital Cloud Solutions to develop with us this health and nutrition app using the live application and development process. The live application and development process was a very exciting way to develop a system like this. The requirements discussion provided us a way of seeing the iterations of the app as it came together. So we would have a discussion about what we wanted to put in. We'd provide some data. We would put the information into this LAD canvas where we could discuss what the entities were and the different inputs and outputs that would be expected in the document. I provided some data on people in the United States, publicly available information from the Centers for Disease Control on age, weight, height, food intake, preferences. And we used the data very quickly to show the app coming together. One of the things that was exciting was that I felt that the requirements were being met because I could see the requirements coming out of the app in various iterations as we designed it. And let's start with the user directory. And let's pick that individual there that is 55 years old, 72 inches tall, and 199 pounds. And let's start by viewing the consumption summary. So here we have a table that shows the profile of the person and the requirements, the intake requirements for calories and protein, calcium, phosphorus, various vitamins and minerals. And the app keeps track of the foods that were consumed for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on each of the days. If we hit the back arrow and we select the person now and we look at the consumption analysis, we can look at this information over time. We can see here if the graph is above the blue line, that means that the requirements are being exceeded. So just looking at this dashboard, I can see that the calorie intake was fairly low. Maybe I didn't put everything in the system, like all the snacks. Looks like over time we're generally meeting the protein requirement. Calcium looks low, phosphorus looks sufficient. So right off the bat, I can see for the last period of time that there are some nutrients that I would be more concerned about than others. So the first thing that jumps out is calcium. I want to make sure I get some more milk and yogurt into my diet. The way this is done is that every single day we keep track of the foods that were consumed. We have a database, several databases actually, one from the USDA, one from Canada on foods and the nutrient composition. So we are able to take into account the nutrient composition of the different foods that were consumed and add up the calories and protein and calcium and phosphorus that was the intake for each day. So we can add food items to the database. We can use different requirements. Here we're using the USDA recommended daily allowances, so we can compare the requirements to the intake for any age group or profile. So here's information on an individual. We can edit these requirements. We can pull them in from a table. And again, we have the ability to identify people based on race and ethnicity, blood group, age, and weight. So here we can go down to the individual records and database elements and view what the actual intake was for a person. Let's look at that 1001. And here we have different meals on different days. So here on June 1st, we recorded lunch being chicken noodle soup, canned and condensed, with a carbonated drink, a grape soda. And so we can see that the soda provided as many calories almost as the chicken soup. Not surprising, and probably not very many other nutrients compared to the chicken soup that's providing some protein and certainly some vitamins and minerals. Let's go to the analysis, and I want to show the table on weight by age for everyone in the country. This is average weight by age. Yeah, this is astounding. As a researcher, I'm very interested in knowing things like the trends across populations. And here we're looking at approximately 250,000 individuals in the United States from many different parts of the country, identified down to the city, county, and state, male and female. But I want to just point out something in the data. As you can see on the left-hand side, as people get older, they tend to put on weight until about age 40, and between the ages of 40 and 60, they're relatively constant in body weight. But right at age 60, you can see that the average weight of people starts to dramatically decrease. If you think about the paradigm, the little old lady, well, there's something to that, because people who live higher than age 90 average about 135 pounds or less as they get older. So right there at age 60, we start to see that people either lose weight or the heavier people die and are removed from the population. So that's why the average weight for the population goes down over age 60. But again, what I find really remarkable here is just how quickly we were able to import the data to produce a graph like this so that we could see these results and have conversations about, well, what if we were to compare this information to another database on longevity, on causes of death, and then ask, well, what's next? Perhaps we want to plug and play like Legos and tie into another database, or we have new data we want to put in or new factors we want to put in. The point I'm trying to get at here is that this no-code, low-code development process, the live application design and development, allowed us to get to this stage very quickly, to iterate the application, to get to where we were able to release it, and now have a conversation with others outside the organization about where we would want to take it from here. And again, this was an iterative process, so the requirements document actually came at the end of one of the iterations. So first we have a discussion about the overall layout of the app, the input and the output with the LAD canvas, the live application design and development canvas. And then what emerged from that discussion was a requirements document. And this turns around the whole development process, because typically what happens is you work very hard on a requirements document. You think about everything you want to put into an app and how it should function. You hand it to developers and it comes back months later and you see what you get. Whereas with the no-code, low-code and the live application design and development, we were very quickly able to see what came together and what would be in the first release of the application. And this was in a matter of days. It came back to me. It only took me a couple of hours of conversation with the team. Quite honestly, the most time-consuming thing was organizing the data, and this is typical with large data sets, and has little to do with the development process and more to do with, do you have the data organized well before starting an app. But I will say that we were able to identify in the data outliers much more quickly. So in other words, the rapid development process allowed us to see the data very quickly and to identify that, oh, we had used the wrong units of measurement for vitamins, or there are some outliers in the data, let's pick them out and remove them or scrutinize them. And so everything about the development process was turned on its head and made much more quickly. You're able to see the results first. You're able to discuss what you want in the app, and then the requirements document resulted from that discussion. I also thought that there was a good correspondence between our podcasts on the 7 reasons for no code and low code and which ones apply to this app. So, of the 7, a number of them really stood out. It's built by the user, so it really decreases the likelihood of there being bad requirements. It connects like Legos, so you can connect different applications or enhancements. Enhancements to no-code tools benefit this app. So as the Power Platform, as we learn more about the Power Platform and things like Power Pages, we can consider how we can introduce those to this app very rapidly. And it's easy to estimate cost. It costs very little of my time. The development tools for no code, low code are available by Intact through Digital Cloud Solutions. We have all of these tools and resources available to us to very rapidly develop these apps. We're looking for business partners to join us in this endeavor. Please reach out to me if you're interested, either in the animal health and nutrition space or the human health and nutrition space. Thank you very much.